Welcome everybody. We just got the sign that everybody is in the room and we can start this afternoon session and the Capital Market Day. So very warm welcome here to the Viscaria Expo and Capital Market Day 2026. I will be your host for 1.5 hours. We will go through the project, the updates in summary, but also go into details about the project, technical decisions going forward, what is the status of the project, but also focusing on some of the partnerships and discussions we have with external partners being here today. And that's also one of the reasons for us speaking in English today. So, for many of you, the day started early. Either you were part of the annual report this morning, a very positive report, and we will hear a little bit of that. Or you were sitting on the plane coming up. Some of you, the international guests, were traveling this morning here up to Kiruna, and some of you comes from the region as well. In the room, we have a very exciting audience, and you are all very important for the Viscaria projects. It's investors, it's shareholders, existing and potential partners, financial institutions, public authorities, market analysts, and students, but also, not the least, many of you being local inhabitants in Kiruna and shareholders as well. So we are very happy to have you all here today. I hope this afternoon will make you come a little bit closer to the project and deeper into the project as well. And a special warm welcome to our international guest. We will also, during the afternoon, have a greeting from the former finance minister in Sweden, Mikael Damberg, that was supposed to join us for the whole day, but unfortunately, and he will explain that in a video that he sent us, he couldn't come today. So we will cover everything from the copper market and supply with a project update and the geology recap. But in order just to summarize a little bit of what we experienced today and the annual report this morning, I will start to give the floor to CEO Jörgen Olsson to give you a short update. Welcome.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, everybody. And I will not repeat myself. I've had speeches twice this morning on the Q1 and for some of you that were out in Arena Arctica, but I know that there are a few new. So I will just show 4 slides for those newcomers as well, and to reiterate some important points. With me today, I will have Ross, and all of you know our head of geology. We have Charlotte with me, our chief operating officer. Christopher, that you met out on site today, our mine manager, and Tove, our head of the processing and those activities. So anyhow, in a few weeks, May 20, 2020, that was the day when this project started for me and for the new shareholders. Then me and my old-time friend and shareholder, Håkan Eriksson, sits here somewhere. We decided to do something that we didn't have a clue what it was, to open a mine. And we held an AGM, and we with our voting power, we voted me as chairman, and then we kicked off this project. And of course, I mean, it was a huge amount of risk at that stage. That whole first year, 2020, towards the end of the year, we thought that we started to get the grip of the project. And by the end of 2020, we did our first larger amount of a new issue, a rights issue of, I think it was 120 million Swedish krona. But looking back now 6 years, I mean, we just had tons of risks ahead of us at that stage that we did not have a clue about. But 6 years later, we are now in the midst of construction, as you have seen. This project is heavily de-risked. We have done quite a few turns and fallen, but risen again and learned from these lessons. And we know very much more closer what the total project cost will be, due to the fact that we've already spent some 2.5 billion Swedish krona investments. And most recently, just the last 6 months, we have signed some of our largest contracts with Metso, that's in the hall today, with Nordic, that's also in the audience here today. So we know much more about the total cost. And then what we already believed in the beginning of 2020 starts to happen now, i.e. a supply drainage of copper and with a constant demand. Today we have a copper price of 13,300. So that is way, way higher than the 7,500 that we started this project of. And due to updated market reports that indicates now in the shorter term a copper price of 11,700, we have then decided to update our business model with somewhat larger costs, but also dare then to apply market consensus regarding copper price of 11,700, where we can show then a higher EBIT, an EBIT of 1.6 billion during what we call the steady state years, 2029 to 2036. But for those of you that have seen us today, and those of you that follow the latest quarterly reports, you know that the steady state years will be way, way, way much longer than just 29 to 36. For every drill hole that we're sitting down, we're finding more copper, and we're not only finding more copper, we find higher grades and higher width of the ore zone as well. So as I said this morning, this will be a multi-decade copper mine. I'll just pick one of the pictures. This is facts. We are not running out of copper, but all easy copper is mined out. New copper is mined at 3,800 meters or way below 1,000 meters. Cash cost and all-in sustaining cost is increasing by fact, because the easy deployed copper are gone. So the cash cost in itself will drive copper prices. You can't mine at something below $10,000 any longer. And that is despite all global mine companies spend so much more every year on exploration that you see in the bar chart below. So short summary for you that many of you are investors. This will be a great case. The only danger we face, of course, could be total collapse in the globe. But otherwise, the only danger we face is that we mess up and we cannot handle this project. But that will not happen. Not with the team that you will see today, not with the entire team that you met today out on site. That will never happen. So this is a fantastic business case. So at 11,700, way below today's copper price, we will earn 1.6 billion. And at the copper price at 14,500, just slightly above where we are today again, 13,300, we will earn 2.2 billion. This is a great case. Last picture from me. We have then, since last autumn, mandated Société Générale and ING as lead banks for our debt consortium. And most probably Finnish governmental body Finnvera and the German governmental body OilMS will support us with credit guarantees. Finnvera because we acquire so much material from Finland, and OilMS because they want to defend the German industry that we export the copper concentrate to Arubis, who is also in the audience here today, and you will see on stage as well. And the banks below, all of them have shown an interest to participate when the lead banks then will syndicate out the loans. So I would be surprised if not a few of these banks down there, and some of them are actually in the audience as well, will participate in a syndication that we then aim to close August, September instead of end of June, as we said before. And with that, I hand over this one to somebody else. Could be Ross, or what do you think?
It will be Ross, and thank you, Jürgen. I think you put a good introduction to the team, saying you are the guys that will manage everything, and Ross will give you the geology update, and we have Charlotte, Christopher, and Tove here as well. So you will make an introduction now with the geology update as a start.
Thank you very much, Christer. Can you hear me okay? Yes, there we go. Okay, yes, everything starts with the geology, so it feels like a fitting way to kick off this afternoon session. The concept of talking to a room, 200, 300 people about rocks, geology, and keeping them entertained, yeah, on the surface of it could be a challenge. But I think when we're dealing with this deposit, Viscaria, and some of these latest exploration results, that's another story. So I hope I can, through 10 minutes or so, give you a glimpse into the excitement we are feeling, the geology team and the whole company as well. So let's kick right into it. And maybe a disclaimer before we start. All of these slides, they're a little bit technical, but they're all uploaded after our live stream this morning onto our website. So you can go through these in your own time as well. I'll try my best to explain them as we go. But yes, so 2025 was a really big year for us in Viscaria. We updated the resource, we showed that this deposit is growing, and we also released to the market our feasibility study as well. And we've really maintained this strong momentum going into 2026. We've had a very strong start on a near mine exploration campaign in the new year, and from that we will present some results today from the B zone and the D zone as well. This morning we also announced that we will have our next resource update in early 2027 along with the year-end report. So that's of course a major milestone to look out for in the future. So what you see on this slide on the right-hand side is a cross-section of the deposit showing the different zones that make up Viscaria. So we have our A zone where the historical production was focused, the B zone, ABBA zone, our latest discovery, the D zone, and even the C zone where we're starting to see some high grades as well. But let's jump right into these latest results. So starting with the B zone, this is an image that some of you will recognize, a longitudinal section where we're looking along the B zone ore body. And that's been color contoured based on the grade times thickness. So where you see the hotter colors, the pinks and purples and red, this is where the mineralization is thickest and highest grade. So basically the highest value material. In the southwest portion of the deposit, we have this gap in the mineral resource. And that had been previously untested to drilling until the previous quarter, where we reported one of our really exciting results, drill hole 25013B, which within this gap intersected extremely thick and high-grade mineralization, returning a whopping 76 meters at just under 1% copper. But of course, that was just one drill hole. Today we have the follow-up drill hole 25013D, which as well has intercepted very thick mineralization, high grade, and so that's very important when we're talking about resource growth. We need to show strong geological continuity between the drill holes, and that's what we're demonstrating here today. But this longitudinal section doesn't tell the full story from our latest result. For that, we need to flip things 90 degrees. So what we see here is now a cross section. So this is a slice through the deposit. And here we can see the trajectory of this latest drill hole, 25013D, relative to the existing mineral resources. And then you can see here that we were targeting this gap between the B zone deep and the B zone shallow. This drill hole in its entirety intersected a really, really thick mineralized package, 317 meters, an average grade of around 0.6%. But what's really outstanding is that within that wider interval, we have several stacked high-grade lenses, all above the 1% copper mark. So if we travel down the drill hole, we see 13.8 meters at 1.13% copper, 14 meters above 1% copper, 6.5 meters, 1.14%. You get the idea. Several stacked lenses, and this is really outstanding. I think from this perspective as well, you get a bit of an idea on the average thickness of Viscaria's mineralized zones. So in the ore zones in the shallow part of the deposit, the average thickness is around 10 to 15 meters, I would say. But you can see here, this latest drill hole, it's on another scale. So very thick, very high grade, and of course this is something we're already following up on our ongoing exploration campaign. We don't need to spend too long on this, but I do think it's important to provide some context to the numbers and the graphic images that we see to link the geology. What we see on the left-hand side is one image that shows the kind of stereotypical or characteristic mineralization in Viscaria, where the copper mineralization follows the natural layering in the rocks. But what we have in this particular part of the B zone is this typical mineralization, concordant or stratabound as we call it, but also these cross-cutting veins as well. And it's this combination of the two mineralization styles that's really driving this really thick mineralized package that we're beginning to uncover. But that was the B zone. Moving on to the D zone. And I said this morning during our live stream presentation that I think this is perhaps one of the most exciting drilling results we've had in my time with the company. And I'll double down on that this afternoon as well. To go straight to the point, our latest scout drill hole, 800 meters away from the existing resource along strike, has intersected the D zone copper and iron mineralization. So this is really huge. It shows we're unraveling a completely new scale to the deposit. Here we see a similar longitudinal section, again colored by grade times thickness. Towards the bottom, these black dots, they're pierce points. These represent where we've done a lot of our step-out drilling over the past year. And this has really been focused proximal to the mineral resource and also to the planned mining infrastructure, because we see a lot of value in the D zone, and we see a clear potential to expand the mine plan in surrounding areas. But we also see from the geological indications from the geophysical models, there's something much bigger at depth. And so in the last quarter, we reported our first major step-out drill hole, 24036, which intersected the mineralization 400 meters from the resource. And we now have the assay results from there, and that returned a total of 14 meters at 1% copper with 25% iron as well. And this was a strong result at the time. This encouraged us to push even further beyond. And that brings us to our latest result with drill hole 25013E. 800 meters from the resource, this opens a substantial space for continued resource growth. And that's our objective now, is to do further follow-up work to prove the geological continuity in this very wide corridor. So there's substantial scale here in this new discovery. And what I also want to show in these photos from the drill core is that this looks like really strong, really rich mineralization. The drilling is ongoing, very well timed. In fact, this drill core is fresh off the rig, delivered to the core shed this week. So very good timing to squeeze it in for this presentation. So we don't have the assay results, but what we can show is the images from the core. So what we see is the stereotypical D-zone mineralization, magnetite overprinted by chalcopyrite. But you can see in these, well, it's a little bit blurry, but these close-up images show that there's really strong copper mineralization here. On top of that, something that's a little bit different in this area is that we're seeing an increased proportion of bornite as well. Now, bornite is another copper-bearing mineral, like chalcopyrite, but it actually holds twice as much copper within the mineral structure than chalcopyrite. We see some examples in the images on the left-hand side. Now, what bornite, the presence of bornite, or an increased proportion of bornite, what this tells us is that in this particular part of the system, there was a lot of copper in play. Some late oxidizing fluids likely remobilized the copper and caused it to reprecipitate as bornite, a sort of secondary enrichment. The presence of bornite and also hematite alteration, which is giving the rock this red coloration, which we can see, this is a strong indication in this type of deposit that we're moving towards the high-grade core of the system. So we're on the right track. Of course, we can't wait to get the assay results from this hole, and that's what we plan to present in our next quarterly update. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll go through this slide quite quickly, but what we see here is a plan view of the deposit. So we're looking down on the different mineralized zones, and the backdrop to that is one of our geophysical data sets, a magnetotelluric inversion. I could take time to explain this in detail, but basically what we see is a clear structural truncation of the Viscaria formations, the graphitic shales. And in this same break, which is shown from the blue-green area, this is exactly where we've made all of our recent discoveries. The ABA zone, B zone deep, the first high grades in the C zone, and now today an 800-meter extension along strike in the D zone. What we see here is evidence for a major feeder zone where hydrothermal fluids have been focused and it seems to have had a major control on the formation of this deposit and the distribution of high-grade mineralization within it. So this is my final slide. As you can see on this chart, through time, Viscaria's mineral resources have consistently grown, and this is a trend that we expect to continue within short. The resource update is planned for release in February 2027, and within that time, we plan to follow up in all of these exciting areas, the extremely thick, high-grade mineralization in the B zone, and this huge step out in the D zone. We want to follow this up, prove the geological continuity, and show that Viscaria is much bigger than the 108 million tons that we currently sit on. Thank you very much for listening today.
Great. So, thank you, Ross, for that. Okay, so again, as Jörgen said, this will be a short recap for some of you on the project update still, but we have new people here in the audience, so still it's worth tell again where we are with the project. So ahead of you, you see the project schedule, and we are currently working a lot with our open pits, with which you have heard more about from CV at the tour, probably today. We have stripped the ground for our open pits, and last week we did the first blast, which was an important milestone for us. When we're using that material as of now for constructing the tailings dam in an efficient and cost-efficient way, but the ore we will leave behind until we have the processing plant ready, so it doesn't oxidize on the surface. Looking at the water treatment plant, that's on track. We're doing the final steps now on the sulfate treatment, and that will be up and running in June this year. And when the sulfate treatment is in place, we can start dewatering the mine. And when we're dewatering the mine, we'll do rehabilitation as we go, that the water level drops. But we have started it now already to just get some experience how it works, so we can be super efficient when it's actually time to do it fully. And after that, underground mining will commence, of course, just in time for the processing plant, the commissioning phase of the processing plant. Looking at the power solution, that's all on track, and we'll be ready. I mean, we have power for construction already, and then for the operation, that will be ready in 2027. Rail yard construction also well ahead. We're going to connect to Malmbanan now, the 16th of June. And so that will all be completed during this year. Likewise with the tailings, where we're well ahead. So the first lift of that will be completed this year, including the clarification pond. And the processing plant, which Tove soon will tell more about, that's well on its way. We have assigned Nordic to construct the building, and Sweco and AFRY to do detailed design, and we have signed our first long lead item with Metso for the mills, and it's more long lead items to come very soon. And then we will start early next year with the installations inside the processing plant, and as soon as we can, gradually start with commissioning of that. First cold commissioning with water, and then when put in ore in it, do commissioning, and then ramp up during 2028 until we reach full production. So just some milestones ahead of us now. We're going to do more long lead items in the mill. That's an important step. And as I said, like construction, that is full ongoing now. The project team, we are 75 people just executing the project. So it's a big group, and that's needed to really secure when we get the designs, to approve it, and then it goes to construction. So it's a quite tight schedule, and that really puts a lot of, how should I say, pressure. And I mean, we really need to be on top of this and really steer the project in a good way ahead, and also to work with selective and really good partners to execute this on time. As I said, rail yard switches that will be placed in June. VTP will be ready for commissioning in June as well. Start of underground rehab, some repetition there, and dewatering. And also Viscaria village will be fully completed by the end of June. So we're ready to host, or Strawberry is ready to host contractors. So that was a short update on the project where we are. And with that, as a teaser for the tech panel that's coming soon, I'm going to hand over to our mine manager, Kristoffer Wikman.
Okay, here we have our beautiful mine. You can see all 3 ore zones, A, B, and D zone. So 95% of the production will come from underground, and for me and the mine team, our main mission is to get to the bottom access drive to D zone at 500 meters and then start opening up the mine. Our target is to get to D zone as quickly as possible, because there's where we have the good stuff.
Good. Tove.
Okay, so processing plant. Of course, I'm not going to go into details of the flow sheet, but I do want to emphasize the importance of what Ross showed us earlier, that we have a lot of different ore zones. So for us, we have de-risked this flow sheet. First and foremost, just to do a lot of significant test work to see that we can handle all the ores that's coming in. And also that we can handle the ores that Ross and the team is funding now outside of the defined zones that we have. So this is a 3 million ton throughput. So we will have a 92.9% recovery. I see Metso in the crowd. They're very happy and pleased with that, of course. And also for the magnetite concentrate, as we said, we want to get to the D zone as fast as possible. And that's because there's the juicy stuff, as Kristoffer said. For us, it's important to reach that one because it's easy to process, fast kinetics, but also we do have the magnetite there. And with the magnetite, we have 69.7% iron in the concentrate, so it's a very good quality. And we will have 2 sellable products, so we're very proud with that. Good, thank you.
Okay.
Again, the
yes.
movie, of course.
Yeah.
And now we're happy to present the movie a little bit about the plant construction. Thank you.
We are building a new processing plant. Not on new ground, on the very same site where the previous facility once stood. That plant was built in the mid-1980s. It operated until 1997. Then the mine closed and the plant was dismantled and sold. But the site remained. The ground remembered. So, in other words, this is not a greenfield location. It is a site with a modern industrial history. This gives us a rare advantage. We are building on a site with known and verified ground conditions. Tove Tillien Tekdal has many years of experience as plant manager in iron ore magnetic separation.
Because we know that a processing plant has previously operated on this exact site. And now that the remediation and the initial groundworks are completed, we have a very solid level of confidence as we move into construction of the new plant.
But the new plant will be fundamentally different from the one that once stood here. The original operation was focused on a single ore zone. Today, a total of 4 ore zones are known and under development. And Viscaria is being built for a different era, one defined by Europe's demand for responsibly sourced copper. With the additional ore zones added, we are building a significantly larger modern processing plant, equipped with 2 mills that will handle the increase in production volume, a SAG mill and a ball mill. This long lead equipment is already under contract with Metso, marking a concrete step forward in execution, supporting the planned start of production at the beginning of 2028. The core equipment of the processing plant, the mills, magnetic separators and flotation units, is supplied by world-leading manufacturers. These partners are also responsible for installation and take part in commissioning, ensuring continuity from delivery through to startup. The processing plant is designed to efficiently separate copper and iron, along with other valuable materials from the ore. A key advantage of the Viscaria deposit is the presence of these additional metals, including iron in the form of magnetite, which can be recovered through magnetic separation as well as silver and others that contribute additional revenue streams and enhance the overall value of the ore. The process begins with crushing and grinding the ore. Flotation separates the copper and magnetic separation, then recovers the iron. The result is two high-quality products, a copper concentrate in the range of 25% and an iron concentrate in the range of 70%. Through a pipeline system, the end products are transported to dewatering and loading facilities for railway transport on the existing Malmbanan line, electrified for more than 100 years and running adjacent to the mine site. At the same time, the remaining tailings are transported via pipeline to a new state-of-the-art tailings storage facility. The technology itself is well proven, having been developed, tested, and refined over centuries to deliver robust and reliable industrial performance. For the processing plant, we've partnered with Nordec, a leading Nordic contractor for steel structures and industrial buildings. We carried out the early groundworks ourselves with local partners. Nordec has since taken over foundations, structural steel, and the building envelope as construction advances. This split gives us strong control over schedule and cost, and confidence in delivering this central part of the restart. Charlotte Odenberger is our COO, with extensive experience from some of Sweden's most advanced mining operations.
A project of this magnitude, with hundreds of people working side by side at the same time, demands careful planning, exceptional collaboration, and a forward-leaning attitude. Through our owner-builder model and in close collaboration with experts and skilled partners, we keep full control of every step in the project. That's how we safeguard quality, secure the schedule, control the cost, and deliver a confident, reliable restart of the Viscaria mine.
We are building a new processing plant, grounded in a proven site, deep knowledge, and modern technology. Familiar foundations and engineered for what comes next.
Thank you so much for this update and introduction. We will move forward in the program. So thank you so much for being at stage giving the update. And I think to some extent, I already are longing for coming back next year. All the different things that will happen this year and see that you're having all these projects come to life and we'll be able to experience it next year. So very exciting time at the moment within the project. We will now, as a next step, also have an external speaker. As I said, it was unfortunate that Mikael Damberg was supposed to be here with us the whole day today, but unfortunately he couldn't because of the voting discussions in the Swedish Parliament that you may have taken notice of. He's not only the former finance minister, but also former minister of enterprise and innovation. Also at the time working with supporting investments in Sweden. We asked him to give his perspectives before the next panel, a little bit about what is happening politically, what is the global situation, and what is the time at the moment, and how that affects policy, and also these kind of projects that we are discussing now with Viscaria. So let us just hear his words to us this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to send a digital greeting. I had truly looked forward to being with you in Kiruna today. Unfortunately, due to the actions of the Swedish Democrats in the Swedish Parliament, who have undermined the parliamentary pairing system, a long-standing practice that allows members of Parliament to be absent without affecting voting outcome, I'm unable to attend today. Let me briefly reflect on the times that we are living in. The world has changed fundamentally. The geopolitical landscape has shifted dramatically in just a few years. The rule-based international order is being challenged. Trade patterns are being reshaped. Supply chains are moving closer to home. War has returned to Europe, and instability in the Middle East adds further uncertainty. Energy security, technological sovereignty, and access to critical raw materials are now no longer just economic issues. They are matters of national security. This fundamentally reshapes the playing field for economic and industrial policy. Across the world, political leaders are stepping forward, acting decisively to strengthen and protect their domestic industries through investments, strategies, and targeted incentives. This new reality demands new solutions also for Sweden. The past few years have been challenging for our country and for Europe. Growth has slowed down, investment has declined. This must be temporary. Sweden needs to return to growth, attracting investment, strengthening our long-term foundations. And we can, because we start from a position of strength, a highly skilled, innovative, and open economy. During our years in opposition, the Social Democratic Party has worked to strengthen, reshape, and renew our economic and industrial policies. We are now stronger than before, underlining the importance of investments in Sweden. We need to be more active in innovation policy, in strengthening research and development climate in Sweden, in trade policy and beyond. Let me give one example of what that means in practice. This week we called on the government to act on the European level. We want Sweden to advocate for a European price floor to guarantee investments in essential and often already existing mining operations. Investments in mining and processing are risky, and uncertainty about future prices mean projects are delayed or never started. This also affects local communities that are expected to support these projects. We need more stability and predictability so that industry and communities can grow together. We also want Sweden to work for the establishment of a European raw materials authority in Sweden, since we have the expertise and the experience needed. This is ultimately about reducing vulnerabilities, building stronger Swedish and European capacity, creating jobs in mining communities, strengthening competitiveness, and ensuring that Sweden is an active force in shaping European industrial policy for the future. To conclude, these are challenging times, but I'm an optimist. I believe in Sweden. Because if we are clear about where Sweden should be truly strong and focus our efforts there, we can succeed and remain competitive in this new world. We have the companies, the skills, the resources. We have all of you in this room, which makes me believe in Sweden. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikael. I think that to some extent we can see that there is a change in the signals from the political side, saying the importance of the mining sector being greater. He talks about the price models that is important, but we also already heard Jörgen say that in copper is not a problem. But being from the political side more active in saying this is a sector that has to grow, it's not about economics, it's not about competitiveness, it's also about national security, I think puts the whole sector in a new momentum in many ways. And I think this is not only Mikael Damberg, is also a paradigm shift in how many of our political parties are talking about the mining industry today. But in order to take that discussion or the message and the more broader perspective into the room here today, as he also mentioned, we will have a panel discussing a little bit of what we see in the market trends, how these perspectives actually affects industry and how we build value chains in Europe, and discuss what we can do next. And in order to have this discussion, I'm happy to once again invite Jörgen Olsson, CEO of Viscaria, to the panel, Martin Sjöberg, who is Senior Vice President of Arubis, and Renaud Lapointe, who is President Market Area Europe and Central Asia, Mezzo. So please join us here for some discussions on these topics. We said the title, From Dependency to Leadership, that's what we will discuss a little bit now. So, very welcome at the stage. And I think we start a little bit talking about the fundamental issues of supply and how the market is developing. We heard your perspectives, Jörgen, and you can get back a little bit to that as well. But Martin from Arubis, please, can you give us your perspective, how you see it, because you have also the relation with the end consumers, and how, from your position in the value chain, do you see the development that also Jörgen talked about earlier? Please.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation, and it was really an impressive tour that we got to see before, and wish you all of the luck with the good construction, and when we're eagerly waiting for the first shipments in 2 years' time. Looking at the demand side for copper, I can really concur to a lot of the messages that you made this morning. And I've been in the copper industry for the last 20 plus years, and I see a fundamental shift that where some products, when I started in the industry, we did massive tonnages of copper roofing, copper for gutters and zinc, and for copper and brass radiators for automotive. That basically has disappeared. That said, we are selling more copper products than ever because of the high development in power transmission, in digitalization, and so on. So the demand forecast that you mentioned this morning is something that I really can concur with.
Do you see also that there is a change? You talk about new demands coming up. Jörgen talked about the basic is the economic development. We also have large investment in the defense industry, and we know from the American side that copper is seen as the second most important for the defense industry. Is that something that you see as well, besides or alongside electrification as a driving force?
I would say that defense is partly due to the reason that we are growing in demand, but I think it's more the investments around defensive, meaning in that additional infrastructure products and so on, that is boosting the copper demand, rather than the direct applications. That said, we stepped out of products like ammunition brass and so on also. But all in all, I mean, defense is another segment that will be very strong in demand for the years ahead.
And when we see the geopolitical discussions that were mentioned, and we know that for sure Europe has said that we should focus on being more self-sufficient in the demand for different raw materials. Do you see also that your customers and clients ask for a new perspective in sourcing or differentiation of sourcing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the pandemic already showed us how fragile supply chains can be, and then you have, all other geopolitical, issues and the war situation currently that is just spurring the need for, having more long-term commitments and having very stable, reliable, and resilient supply chains. I do believe that, Arubis, we are well set to match that because of a smelter network in Europe. And for example, if I go further downstream on the product side, we have 4 different wire rod lines that allow us to supply to many different, customers, and we have, idle capacity, or we have capacity that can be used for that. But the main challenge is actually at the moment is to secure sufficient raw material, and hence once again, I'm very glad to see the work that you're doing and happy to be an off-taker of this material in the future.
So when you actually signed the agreement 18th of December last year, it was like an early Christmas present.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, huh? Christmas comes early sometimes. Yeah.
Very nice. And you talked about the pictures of supply and demand. Overall, do you agree with the picture that Jörgen painted a little bit before about that we have potential shortage coming up also in Europe?
Yes, I would though make a bit of disclaimer, because I think, when I speak to my end, as a customer or my downstream customers, I want to say that we are ready to fill these challenges. And how do we do that? We secure them, we go into partnerships with a company like Viscaria, and we're in it for the long term. We are starting to approach them in a very early stage of the project, already before the concentrates is being produced. We have a very global sourcing out, for primary materials as well as recycling material to really safeguard this and stay competitive for the future. And we're also, of course, doing our own homework, and that means that we are investing heavily, not only in capacity, but also in capabilities, so we can be a preferred partner for mines, handling more complex concentrates going forward. Because I think, as was also mentioned many times, the easy deposits and so on, they're all gone. We need to be also on the smelting and refining side, be on top of our game to process more, let's say, challenging material, as well as investing in the recycling. And by that, I hope that we can really meet the copper demand of Europe for the future.
And Jörgen, you presented the overall picture quite clearly before, but how do you also in the day-to-day activities sense the larger interest for the Viscaria project and what you will produce?
I will first say another thing before I answer that question, because I would like to take the opportunity to thank both Arubis and Metso for coming here today, but not only that, but for being partners to us. Arubis is one of the world's largest copper concentrate purchaser, and by far Europe's largest copper concentrate purchaser. Metso is a global world-leading brand within the mining industry for processing. And and we needed brand names in the beginning to engage with us to certify the credibility in the project. And you can just imagine me 5 years ago, bing bong on the door to Arubis. Hello, I'm going to open this copper mine and would like to show the market that I have a client here. That was a tough part, but Arubis has been visiting us since 22, I think, Niklas Albrecht and Bastian Berghorst, and showed a fantastic confidence in us. And Arubis, you've seen quite a few copper projects, and I'm so happy that you have also supported us by giving good advice of things that you can do better and so on. And you've really been instrumental for us by showing confidence and being with us. The same goes for Metso. Same story, tricky to engage and so on, because companies like they, should we engage time, money, and cost? But we managed to get Metso with us already in 2021, and you helped us to do first basic engineering. And you really woke me up and said that because the initial plant that we planned was way too small, you could not get the economy of scale, and you almost shocked me with that basic engineering when you pushed up billions and billions more in cost. But and this is important. This is long-term relationships, and Viscaria has really been benefited from you two companies supporting us throughout this. What was the question, Chris?
The question was, how do you, in the day-to-day life, experience what we talked about, the larger interest for the raw materials in Europe, and especially copper in your case?
For the first time since we started this whole project, maybe some 8 months ago, I have more incoming calls than outgoing calls. I have incoming calls from almost all the international mining banks. I have incoming calls from mining companies. I've been invited to speak in London to present the Viscaria project. I've been invited to speak in Toronto at the PDAC conference now in February to speak about the Viscaria project, and we did a couple of different presentations. One presentation was arranged by the Swedish Embassy in Canada, and we had 50 different companies in the audience. And I was supposed to speak and present in 20 minutes, which I did. But then the Q&A session lasted for an hour and a half. They never let me off the stage. And that is, of course, due to the fact that we have dared to invest so much in the infrastructure without having the permit and full legal force, but also the deposit in itself. And again, remind some of you here, it's so important to state, our neighbor It's not one of the largest iron ore bodies underground. It's the largest iron ore body underground. Our neighbor has not one of the best quality iron ore bodies. It has the best iron ore body. And it's a special type of iron ore body, an IOA, iron oxide apatite. And with an IOA, in very many places in the world, Peru, Chile, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, US, China, comes a gigantic IOCG, iron oxide copper gold. And that's what we sit on. But nobody has discovered this until we came into this project. So that's why this Q&A session went so long, for example, in Toronto, because I'm biased. But our deposit will grow way, way, way larger than even the highest expectation that you can grasp today. Because we know what comes with that sizable IOA. It comes with gigantic IOCG. So I think that has gained the most interest. And quite a few of the larger international copper mine companies are reaching out, not at least to Ross, and say, please, can you just give us a geology introduction?
Very interesting. And Renaud, you as a very important partner to this project, as Jürgen said, how do you see also with your experience starting new mining projects, how is Viscaria different, or where do you see the possibilities, like Jürgen say, and what will that affect when it comes to how you build and design?
As we say, when there is a will, there is a way, right? And Jürgen has the will, right? It's obvious. So I want to thank you, Jürgen, and your team, to Charlotte, Emma, really for that day. Fantastic organization. I've not done that many times. Very, very well done. And when you speak to the team and when you work with the team, you see the drive that they have and the willingness they have to make that project a success. So for us as Metso, it's very exciting. We love it. We want to be part of this adventure. And yes, we invest everything we have to make the project a success. So, you know, for more than 100 years, we've been one of the leaders in mining processing plants. And we've been working in copper segment for many years. So we know very well about it. Jürgen said that a few years back he didn't know anything, but he's a fast learner, you know, I can see that. So it's obvious that this project for us is represents also, you know, everything that Europe should be even doing more. You know, fortune favors the bold, and I think, you know, it's our duty to accompany a group like Viscaria into that project, so we're very excited.
You talked about that it's maybe something that Europe should do more. Micke Damberg talked about focusing on innovation and investments and so forth. Do you also share the fact that we have a good basis in Europe with the competence and technology as a world-leading companies, but it could be easier for also getting the public funds support, or what are the key issues where you think that we could take the next step in Europe?
Yes, I fully on board with that. Metso is a group based in Finland, and we've always been investing a lot of R&D, and year after year we're growing the amount of money we put into R&D, developing the best products. And obviously our target is to increase efficiency, but also allow our customer to develop their mining project in a sustainable way. So sustainability is in everything we do. We don't have any R&D project approved to go unless it's 100% with sustainability targets. So that's our policy in Metso. So we are investing regardless what happens. And we feel that Europe is willing to really increase its sovereignty in critical raw material supply, copper being one, but there is also lithium and there are many others. So we have to be ready when Europe eventually can make a bit faster decisions. Yeah. We know we wish Europe would be a bit more fast in action, and but it's coming. We see it's around the corner. It's not, an easy way. So Viscaria being so fast and having such a strong drive, we're very happy to be in that as a partner with them. It's I think they are showing the example of what we should be doing more in Europe.
Perfect, and we will try to tell everybody about what you're doing together then in the true partnership and achieving a new way of working to solve some of the issues for Europe that we have seen and talked about. A question to you both, because you're touching on, all the three of you, you're touching on the whole value chain and what actually is the deposit makes a difference to how you work in Arubis, and it's a question of technology. How do you think that we can work to even increase the cooperation in the value chain? Is what you're doing together with Viscaria one catalyst of working, building a new kind of close value chains, or is it other things that we should do more to support that?
If I start, so I see that self-explanatory. That's why we, for example, love to work with a company like Arubis. Arubis is then so large, again, one of the world's largest copper concentrate purchaser, but they're completely transparent and honest on the website, the presentation about the challenges. And it's quite rare in this industry, for me at least, that I try to read everything from smelter company and so on. Arubis already initially told me about the challenges of having, I think, 60% of your copper concentrate from Latin America and all the CO2 emissions from the boats there. That was one of the first things Arubis told to me, open frank. So, sir, if we can buy amounts from you, you will lower our CO2 impression. So it started with such an honesty. So even though Arubis is a huge company listed on the German stock exchange, but it started with that. If you sell your copper concentrate to us, we will lower our CO2 impression. So that's an answer to your question.
And if I pick up on that, it's absolutely the case, and we see some other tendencies in the industry. First of all, there's no real, let's say, benchmark set or some kind of criteria set when it comes to the environmental footprint of the copper products. So we took basically an initiative in that, and we are turning against the ones that are maybe selling part of their production as, low CO2 depending on the energy mix, or 100% recycling, although just the 10% of the feed might be recycling. What we said, and that's also coming back to your presentation this morning, the world needs more copper as a whole. And the way to do it is to show that all the copper that we produce, we want to be better year over year. But also we, Arubis, although we are large, we cannot do this alone. We need the whole industry into it. And that's why, once again, we need that kind of transparency. We need our suppliers like Viscaria to be transparent with us, showing what is the environmental footprint of your mining production. And we can then translate that. So when I sit and discuss contracts with the downstream customers, even our customers, the big automotive OEMs and so on, that they can show, or we can show, that with Arubis and our suppliers, you really get responsibly produced copper. And we even logo that, we call it Tomorrow Metals, that is like the brand name for our sustainability promise. And we are happy to have companies like Viscaria buying into this philosophy.
Perfect, thank you. And
I guess the values of Viscaria are matching the values of Metso when it comes to developing a plant, being sustainable, having the most efficient product. We know that grinding, crushing is what consumes most of the power required to produce copper. And we have the best machines for that. So it's super important for us to have a project in Sweden with such a team, being very, very driven for success to deliver the best technology we have for that. So grinding, flotation, filtration, the best of those equipments that we are designing will be hopefully in that plant, and will be there to support Viscaria. So for us, it's exactly what Metso is after, these type of customers. So this project is a benchmark, I guess, for the industry in Europe.
Sounds very good, and thank you so much for talking about how we build the competitive value chain. But I think it's also not the question about just having copper as a commodity or building a value chain. It's enabling economic development and all the different needs that we have in society and the economic growth that you often talk about, Jörgen. So The true partnership will enable that, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas with us in the panel. Any final words of today?
I would say it's not only about technology, it's also about cooperation and partnership. And this is the feeling we have working with Viscaria, that there is a honest and very efficient cooperation. And you know, it's not only about machines, but also managing projects and making sure that you know, we're on time and the project is successful. The success is not only production capacity, but also time management. And I think the good cooperation and great understanding and respect is also one of the keys for the success.
I remember when you say that, one of the words from the inauguration of the water treatment plant, when your large supplier TV said that working with Viscaria, being here is like being home. So I guess that's a true partnership in one way. Martin, some final words?
I just want to concur again. You know, again, it was very impressive to see. So to you, Jürgen, and to the team, you know, keep up the good work. Also looking at the future deposits here, and also I hope that this will be the beginning of a lengthy and long partnership between our two companies. Looking forward to working together with you.
Definitely believe that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for attending. And then we will move forward to the next panel, and we might need some time just to get mics on new people coming up. I think that's happening. We said the theme for this panel will be From Rock to Revenue, Engineering the Viscaria Value Chain, and we talked a little bit about it before. So except from Charlotte Odenberger, who you already met, and Tove Thelin Tekdal as well, and Christopher Wikman. We also have an external guest, so to say, Andreas Simonczyk from Sandvik, that will also join us for this panel discussion, where we go more into the details about what are the design choices you make. How do you secure the best and effective way of actually taking the fine deposit that Ross talked about into the product that then will deliver the value for Aropis in the very end. So that's what we will dive into for some minutes. So we have Andreas as well. Please join us.
Thank you.
And maybe you can take, you can stand there with, yeah, perfect. So I will open a little bit this discussion with just an open question to you, Charlotte. You talked about now we are reopening in a way, but you're building from the very scratch. It has been a site before, but what you do now is completely new. What does that mean when it comes to the design and the possibilities and the ways of thinking when you start this kind of project, where you actually start from the very beginning?
I mean, to me, that comes with a great responsibility. I've been at a lot of mines, and usually you hear that, oh, how were they thinking, and why did they do that? And you really don't want to be that person, right? Or none of us want to be that person that was just like, didn't do their job properly. So I think, I mean, what we want to do is to, I mean, I think everyone in this team is here for a reason, that you want to create that great mine that's it's a bit different, but still uses proven technology. And as Renoa said, I was really happy to hearing that. I mean, that's also how we attract the best partners, because you want to be part of that great company culture that we have to create something unique and super efficient and modern.
But then when you meet a technical peer and you should describe Viscaria in one sentence to describe what's unique, what do you say?
I would just say it's a great deposit with all opportunities and a great company culture where everyone's ideas is welcome. And I never ever heard anyone said anything bad about anyone's idea. So it's just people will listen. And if you have a good idea, that idea can absolutely be executed as well.
Very good. And Sandvik is one of the world-leading companies as well, and you are in these discussions with Viscaria as well, and you have, Andreas, lots of experience from similar startup new mines and choosing technologies and ways of working. How would you describe Viscaria from your perspective?
Well, we have been involved in a couple of years, I would say now, looking into technology and choice of technology for the upcoming mining operation. And for me, Viscaria is quite unique in many ways, I would say. And one of those unique points is the location in Kiruna, being neighbor to LKAB. It's a brownfield. You already kind of have the social license to operate in a way, because people here are used to mining. And all that infrastructure that's already in place with the railroads and the harbor, contractors, Jürgen talked about that this morning. There's a lot of unique things that usually when you start a new mine, you have to build everything from the beginning. But here you already have a lot of those things in place. Another thing that I think it's really important is the fact that we are in Sweden with kind of stable politics, and on top of that we also have the Swedish mining cluster, as we call it, which is, for example, Sandvik and Epiroc, and we have Metso, we have Normet, and we have cooperation with academia, with universities, a lot of new startups when it comes to technology, and they're very active in the network here. And that also helps when it comes to helping our mining customers to evolve, but also having new technology to help out with productivity and safety and other important issues.
And back to you, Charlotte, you talked about the possibility of actually, and responsibility when you design the mine from the very beginning. What would you say is the single most important design question when you start these operations, and where you need your partners to have the dialogue?
I mean, yeah, it's a tricky one to just pinpoint one, but I think, automation and to be digital, to attract like future mining talents, maybe more like gaming profiles and that. But of course, the details is in the devils. The mine design, super crucial to get that right, so we can really get those 3 million tons per year up. That's, that requires planning and efficient mining. And on the processing side, to really get the most out of it when it's actually in the process. Then we take in all the costs. Then it's Tove's job to really make sure that we get the most out of it. And then, of course, the tailings facility, that's often forget, but that's the state of the art itself as well. That can be a game changer. If you don't have tailing space, you can't mill. So you really need to have good engineering there as well, and long-term thinking. So.
You point at the mining solutions and the ways you work. Going to you, Christopher, with a question. What kind of, I guess the pictures you showed, disclosed for everyone who knows everything, what methods you choose. But what mining method have you selected? And can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, we're going to do long hole open stoping with paste backfill because it suits our deposits really well. Also, it's a very flexible mining method in the sense that we can reach the high value areas early in the mine, even if it's at depth. So early in the mine plan, we can reach the areas because we are not locked to a large scale sequence that you might be by other mining methods such as caving. And also the paste backfill allows us to extract the pillars that we otherwise would have to leave, but because they are in high grade and high value, we can extract them. And also there are some historical pillars left in the old mine, and then through paste backfill we can extract them and get value.
And as I understand, it's also a method that makes it easier to operate without having lots of staff within the mine. It's easier to work with.
In a way, but the mining method itself kind of forces us to go for at least remote control, but also automation. if you take the step towards remote control, I think it's only natural to make it semi-automated or automated. Because we can't send, once we blast, we can't have people in the stopes because of the potential risk.
And what would you say if we see that this is the method you've chosen, and you say it's connection to the deposit, how it looks, its efficiency, and all these but what are the, if you would say, the difficulties with the undermine operations, if you would single out one of the questions?
I think for us, the key is to have a high development rate, and in that way we can create a lot of flexibility for ourselves. Because we are not locked in a specific sequence, we can mine in all different ore zones, high or low in the mine. So that's key for us to have open up the mine simultaneously.
And as you mentioned, and as I understand, it's also a possibility to use the existing infrastructure.
Yeah, of course. We will reuse roughly 50% of the old infrastructure, so roughly 30 kilometers of tunnel and old tunnel that we will reuse, and that saves a lot of money and a lot of time. We can reach the bottom of the old mine quite fast.
Yeah. Andreas, when you hear how it described how to create infrastructure and make the mining methods, and we talk about the different choices you have when automation and also electrification, what would you say is the key crossroads that has to be identified in a project like this when it comes to what path you choose?
Well, it is. In one way, it's very easy because it's actually the ore body that decides for you, more or less. You can attack an ore body with different mining methods, but there are really not that many. I mean, if you look at mining methodology or how we mine, it hasn't really changed the last 100 years. We do it the same way. There are some attempts of finding new ways of mining, but basically it's the same way. So it's kind of a choice of finding the optimal solution when it comes to productivity and also safety. For example, a long hole stoping in this type of ore body, it's a good choice, and with backfill, so you can have stability and you can actually mine pillars and things like that. But that also requires automation. But automation today is a very mature technology. I mean, Sandvik, we have been working with automation since 2004, I think. We are doing it in the neighboring LKAB mine since many, many years back. So it's a good way to actually remove people from the danger areas, but also actually over time increase productivity. And so that's kind of the facts that we have to work with. But also what we have been doing together with Viscaria over time is doing some simulations of seeing, which type of machines would be optimal for this. Maybe we should have 5 small, or maybe we should have 3 large, that type of thinking. And also electrified or diesel, and simulate how that will perform. At the end of the day, there's a plan, a mining plan, and you need to mine X tons per hour, per day, per shift, per week, per month, and they have to have the correct equipment for that. And it's very important to do a good choice in the beginning because it's very hard to change over time. So, yeah.
Do you want to comment the choices when it comes to automation?
Of course, we are, as I said before, kind of forced to go for automation or remote control. But we also put it in the plan from the beginning. We are planning to have our operations and then close the mine for blasting and ventilation. But automation also opens up, that's kind of our backup plan. If everything goes wrong, we can still operate at a limited level during the night shift. So it's for us, it's crucial.
And it can also bring some extra hours. I mean, over a shift change, you usually lose an hour of operation. Of blast clearance, you lose 1 hour, 2 hours. Sometimes during nighttime, we can open up for operations if needed. So if you take all those hours, it can be almost a shift that you gain in extra operation hours, and that's more tons, and that's more money in the bank at the end of the day.
And for us, since we're designing a new mine, we can have that in consideration when we're designing the mine. So all the production levels are already designed for remote control, and we can design now the size of the tunnel to what machines do we want, or so we can still adjust a lot.
Yeah. And also make automation smoother, because you can do very small adjustments of the mine layout to make an automated machine run faster, and that's also extra tons.
And so once again, like the panel before, that's why the partnership is so important, that you have these discussions already in this phase. If we go back a little bit to what also Ross said before, Charlotte, when we talk about the D zone is very important. How does that kind of findings and the interest of reaching that D zone affect the mining plan?
Well, of course, I mean, if you find more ore, that prolongs life of mine, and that opens up for, I mean, new investments, better investments, but also, of course, a better profitability. And I mean, this zone, as you mentioned as well, and it's we have the magnetite also, which is a byproduct. We will get extra revenue streams from, and also some silver in copper that we're still exploring. Yeah, it's super important. That's our future. And that's also what's so exciting, that we haven't really found any boundaries of this deposit yet.
And maybe why it's so important to work on finding all the different parts of the
it is, and I
so
mean, we talk a lot about that, to try to make a mine plan that's open as it can. I mean, since Ross is key and the team keeps coming with great results, it's like you don't want to lock yourself in with something. So we talk a lot about that, how to bridge it and to have a good mine plan that also opens up the opportunity to expand and go outside the current footprint.
And then the mine plan will change over time. That's the only thing we know. If we find more ore in other places, we will adjust. And in 5 years, I think we will have a new mine plan that might look completely different.
That's a really good point, because it's very, very important to understand that the mine it's a living creature in a way. It changes every second, every hour over time, and over a couple of years run, it's a completely different mine. It could be. And the next ore body maybe has a different structure and maybe require a different mining method. So it's important to be as flexible as possible when you choose technology.
And then in the end, we come to the processing part.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, without you, it's not worth bringing.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think just the flexibility that we are talking about here, it's throughout the whole kind of area that we need to have flexibility in the mine plan, but we also do need to have flexibility also in the plant. So we do have a flow sheet that is capable to process all ores. So that for us is really important, just to kind of get in what Ross and the team is finding when the mine plan changes, that the PDC and the flow sheet can handle those changes. So for us, when we talk about the basic engineering that we've done together with Metso and also the previous engineering, we have just focused to get such a flexible flow sheet as possible, but still keep the robustness. For us, it's key to kind of de-risk as much as possible, and with that, the flexibility is one key question.
And we talked about how you can design from the very beginning, flexibility, but also how you maximize the outcome. How in the processing, how do you design for maximizing the recovery rate, for example?
Yeah, so everything comes down to test work. Test work, test work, test work. So for us, all the drill cores that we get in, we need to test them in lock cycle test and bench scale testers, just to kind of get all the recovery data in there. And of course, the process team and all the process engineers that we have at site, they're working with trying to get up the recovery curves. That's the goal, because that's what we can do. But we don't know everything. For now, we know bits and pieces. But for us, kind of push performance and push recovery, we'll do that when we get up into operations. But we already have done a great job with the recovery curves. We have pushed it up a little bit higher. throughout test work, and it's just more bang for the buck, more or less.
In the end, it's very much about the whole system coming together as
Yeah.
an integrated operations. So how do you solve that in the day-to-day work? Are you working together and you say, this is the rocks that I want to create the revenue, or?
No, in reality, it's a bit like going to McDonald's. The process team will order, and then we will deliver what we can dig out.
Yeah, that's a good
No, but-
comment. That's a really good comment.
With
No,
extra cheese.
With
Yeah.
extra cheese, yeah, on top.
No, but for us in the mining department, it's important to have a steady flow of ore and also some predictability. So
Yeah.
the processing team knows, like, some time in advance, like, you're gonna get this.
Yeah, and of course it comes down to the block model that the geo team puts together, so we get an understanding of what we have in the ore. And also we are working a lot with cooperation because it's like closing the circuit between geo, mine, and process. Because if we work well together, then we will have a really good recovery and high throughput.
Very good. The time is flying, but if we have a final sentence, what do you think will be the most important for the coming year? Tove, you will be in focus, of course,
Yeah.
with everything you're building and developing now, but for all of you, what will be the highlights, the milestones for the next year?
For us in the mining department, it's gonna be development. That's the key thing the first years, to make as much tunnel as we can, so we can prepare for the future.
And Tove?
Yeah, well, of course, we will focus on operational readiness to get the staff in place, to be able to do some operational excellence, I would say. But of course, we want to do a lot of engineering, and also, of course, test work, continuous verifying the flow sheet, and of course, buying equipment. That's fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And maybe one final question. Jürgen said to you, Charlotte, Jürgen said before that we have lots of investors and shareholders and others in the audience. What is the most important from what we talk about now for them to take with them from this discussion when it comes to design and how we operate the most efficient?
I mean, first of all, it's a great deposit, and the team here is so 200% committed to really get this up and running and to be an excellent mine, producing a sustainable copper. That's our mission, and the way we go to work every day. So, yeah, I think that's the answer.
And then the final comment, Andreas.
Yes.
You being also a little bit of an external voice in this panel, what would your advice be, or what are you looking forward for the coming year?
No, I think I don't have that much advice, actually. I think you're doing the right things, to be honest. It's very important, all these technology choices you need to make in the beginning. It's important that you actually choose the right piece of technology and not the cheapest. It has already been said today. I think that's extremely important. The second one would be continue to have this engagement in the local community with the Kiruna. I know you're doing that really, really well. I think that's something that needs to continue over time, of course. And you know, have good relationships with the different vendors, because we are here to help. Of course, we see business opportunities, but we do that together with you. So yeah, that would be my final words.
Perfect. Thank you so much for to this panel.
Thank you.
I believe that we have several in the audience that are mining experts, but if you're not, now you are. I think we've learned a lot about the processing, the design, and what are the opportunities in building a mine from the very beginning. So it's been very interesting to hear all these details about the choices going forward. Now we will just have some closing remarks and questions, and I'm very happy to invite Jan Stålberg or Thomas von Koch also to the stage together with Jürgen. And we have some handheld mics, which I think will be sufficient for these final closing remarks. So, thank you everyone for listening and taking part of this 1.5 hour. But I think we all now are digesting all the information, the impressions, and not only from this 1.5 hour, but also from the visit to the site this morning and so forth. And if I start with you, Jörgen, what is your, and a short answer, what is the most important thing that you have shown today that you are the most proud of?
And that is that it's a Swedish-funded, Swedish-based industry project. Nobody believed in that, and with the help of Thomas and Jan and the others present here in the audience, we have shown that we are doing something important for Sweden, doing something important for Europe by ourselves with our own money, without any governmental substitution.
Perfect. And Jan, you've been following, of course, as Thomas, this project for a long time and closely, and you've been here before. What does stand out from the day and the impressions? If you point out just a few things.
Well, I think what stands out is the totality of it all. We have a lot of talented people. You have seen the young team that we have combined with mining experts like Lars-Erik. Kiruna is world class. Thomas and I have built EQT together. We had the ambition to be world class. We have seen that on the water purification plant today. We're building something here we can be immensely proud of. It's world class. I heard Andreas, and I agree exactly. The infrastructure is here, the rail, the harbor, the people in Kiruna. It's a mining environment, best place to start a new mine. But we also have to have the ambition, everything can be improved every day. Andreas said not a lot have changed in 100 years. We're going to change things. And we've been built businesses together before. This will be good for Norrbotten. This will be good for Sweden. This will be good for the shareholders. We will fail. We will have setbacks. We're going to do a lot of mistakes. If you invest 9 billion, lots of things will go wrong. Don't underestimate our stamina. We worked together for 25 years. We had a lot of failures on the way, but we got up. We will get up when we fall here too. It will be a successful project.
Perfect, thank you. And Thomas, if you give your perspective, and especially focusing on maybe on the site visit, what were your impression from the site visit today?
First of all, I'd like to concur with Jan. We've been through rough waters before, and we've been able to carry through. And we have pretty thick foreheads. We don't give up, and that's good. And now, luckily, we won the lottery together, being shareholders of EQT, so we can put some power behind it. Well, my impression, I'm always blown away to hear. It's actually the level of ambition and professionalism, and very much thanks to you, Jörgen, and your team. We have a very, very young but highly talented team. It's interesting, we Swedes, we have a tendency to underestimate ourselves. The northern Sweden, together with Finland, possibly parts of Norway, we are the best in the world in mining. And we've been doing this for 1,000 years. So foreign, whoever wise people come here to advise us, that's nice, but we have all the talent here. And that's so nice, and I think you just underscored that even more during the sessions. And also some nice takeaways that we have this big mama brother here that has a tendency to take iron ore out of the ground. I didn't know that a big mama iron ore normally have a big mama copper ore alongside it. So that was actually another takeaway. I'm a little bit surprised, and maybe you are more, that it's so hard to find capital for what I would say is a no-brainer investment. I know developing this next step of what we're going to do, but it's not that Metso hasn't done this before. This is the everyday work. The hard part we've gone through with the permits, the cleaning facility, etc., where we're breaking new ground. So I'm just very, very optimistic. So that's my concluding remarks.
And when you came into this investment some time ago, you invested a lot, and you see the progress, and you're happy about that, of course. But also today, and Jörgen showed, there is also a new world around us that makes the investment maybe even more important. Does that affect you in how you see this project? It becomes even more important or not? Or?
No, massively. This is evident. It's one of my investments, and the other ones are into energy. We need to be self-sustaining in energy in Europe, otherwise can't protect our democracy. But if we don't have the minerals, we're toast. No, so this has been evidently the best mineral of everything is copper, but if we also sit on it, we need it in Sweden, in Europe, and unfortunately in Europe we're quite alone nowadays in fighting for democracy. So this is not only brain, it's also heart.
Thank you, and maybe Jan, one question. I think your reflections on also listening to the panels, it's been very much about partnership between different actors, talking about also the transparency and trust between partners and open. What is your impression when you compare with other businesses that you've been and are involved in, when you listen to the panel here today and the different partners participating?
Well, I think trust in this part of the world. I grew up in a small steel mill town, Hällefors. The good thing with people there, they call a spade a spade. If you have a problem, they tell you you have a problem. It may be difficult to get people in Finland and northern Sweden to say anything, but if they say yes, you know they will do it. This is sort of an enormous advantage in a project like this, because we're going to have a lot of problems. But to me, I've been an investor all my life. I don't know a lot about mining, but I know a lot about pricing risk. And of course, Thomas, I agree with Thomas. I'm a bit surprised it's difficult to get more shareholders into the company. And of course, there is a risk we can't fund a project. There is a risk we can't build a project. But it's also an opportunity that we'll find much more down there than what we've already identified. And we know it's there. And of course, I'm somewhat an optimistic guy. I think you have to be. But the way I view this may well be a pension insurance for my children. We may be mining here in 50 years. And then this is a fantastic investment. I think it's a very good risk to take at Night on Kroner. But of course, we will get, of course, delays. We will get extra costs. But there is also a lot of upside.
Thank you. And maybe the last question to you, Jörgen. In 1 year, we will be here again. What do you think will be the focus, or what do you hope will be the focus for the next year's meeting?
We will surprise all of you once again. For those that are with us every week, you are constantly surprised. But for the other ones that maybe only come to the AGM, we will definitely surprise you. Not only will you see the processing plant erected, but you will see a fantastic, nice, I don't want to use the word beautiful because Trump has destroyed that word, but a fun feature with our site. I hope that you saw that today. We have a design program for the entire industrial site. That is not very usual, I would say. So we have a design agency that decides how we put the houses, so how they should be looked at from the city. Because you see this from the city. And we do have a negative impact on the environment because we are taking away trees and so on. So we want it to look nice. We have a color schedule that everything will be in the autumn's colors, so reddish, red brownish, yellowish, and so on. We will have a fantastic, beautiful mine site, and that is rare. That is what you will see next year. And that will impress you.
I think that's a very good concluding words. Thank you, Thomas, Jan, and Jörgen for these closing remarks. This is the end of the Capital Market Day, and we will move into the next phase very soon. So thank you all for this 1.5 hour. Hope that you all got the information and the sense of the project that also inspiring for going forward and attracting more partners into the next step. Yeah. Thank you so much.